なんだお前は。
The Gundam franchise has been around for quite some time, and just like with any other long-form story medium, certain elements and tropes become a staple and are to be expected. Things like a white mobile suit, aka a big humanoid robot, war factions, child soldiers, and many more are some of the elements that you'll definitely find in a Gundam show. Now, that's not to say that all Gundam shows are the same, as each and every one of them puts its own unique spin to those tropes, to varying degrees of success. The previous Gundam entry that wasn't a part of Universal Century or the Build Saga was Iron-Blooded Orphans, and it was a fantastic show that mainly ditched the bin weapons in favor for close melee combat, something quite different that you regularly don't see in a Gundam series. Which from Mercury brought back the fan-favorite fin funnel technology not seen since Char's Counterattack and more or less, to a lesser extent, Unicorn. And to be honest, G-Witch has really become a fan-favorite and popular entry, reinvigorating the entire Gundam franchise with its fresh takes on recurring motifs. That's truly the secret behind the Witch from Mercury's success, the way it reconfigures all of the elements that make up a Gundam show and distills them into something that doesn't sound like Gundam, yet it feels completely like Gundam, along with its dark turns and brutal reveals on the second half of the show. So my friends, I'm Absa, and it's time now to explore the themes and tropes of G-Witch and how, if you know a little bit of the franchise, you can pinpoint exactly where they come from, and if this is your first Gundam show, those same tropes have been boiled down to their core, revised and woven so well into the story that you'll barely need any extra explanation for it to be enjoyable. It's no secret that the first couple of Gundam entries paved the ground for almost every show that came after. In other words, Mobile Suit Gundam, Zeta, Double Zeta, and Char's Counterattack were so influential to the franchise that now they are almost seen as a blueprint for newer shows to use, adapt, and configure its story elements. But let me be clear here, the story is always different, yet certain elements are to be expected. Never exactly the same, but you get the point. With G-Witch, something quite interesting happened, as not only did the show creators grab some of the tropes from the original early Universal Century, but also did add something from the now classic Unicorn. You see, the whole premise of Gundam Unicorn is that at the start of the Universal Century calendar, UC 0001, something happened, and that incident led to the creation of the Best Foundation and the Laplace Box, a crucial narrative element for the whole Unicorn story that I won't spoil. With that in mind, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the beauty of The Witch from Mercury is that it's a self-contained story that, in something never before seen, lets us experience the start of the enticing incident in the form of a prologue episode. This is a fantastic spin to the almost tiresome flashback episode that justifies what is happening. In other words, the prologue episode did a marvelous job at explaining the world and laying the ground for something that, well, okay. Out of respect for the viewers, I have to stop. Till now, I haven't said anything spoilerific, but I'm afraid that that's going to change in the next couple of minutes. So, if you haven't seen the series, please watch it first and then return to this video. So, entering spoiler territory in 3, 2, 1. Okay, as I was saying, the prologue episode more or less laid the ground for what will be known as the Curse of the Gundams. We get to experience firsthand the tragedy that befell Elnora, aka Prospera, and her family, and even the band of Gundam Tech, thanks to, it's a Gundam because I say so, Mr. Delling Rembrandt. When the series started, there was a very big disconnect from the prologue. In fact, people didn't know if there was a time skip or something similar, but the show fantastically tied everything together on the second season. This move alone makes G-Witch deserve praise and respect regarding its storytelling decisions, as the creators grabbed a Gundam trope, well, more like a trope from fiction, and subverted it by, instead of giving us a flashback, the whole show was a flash forward. To put it in context, imagine if Iron-Blooded Orphans had a prologue episode that was set during the Calamity War with Agnika Kaieru piloting the Veil against the mobile armors and winning against them, but at the cost of his soul. This would have accomplished various things, with some of them being the presentation of the Araishiki system as something that had much more brutal consequences than what actually happened to Mika's eyes, placing Magili's faith in the Veil as something that we could all relate to, and even the foreshadowing of the cruelty and relentlessness of the mobile armors. Was that really necessary for IBO? No. Would it have been a cool thing to watch? Definitely. Well, at least for me. Anyway, after the prologue, the first season of G-Witch was okay. And I don't say it as a bad thing. It really did a good job at presenting the new status quo after the time skip and at explaining everything regarding the Venerate group and its important persons, and the Astikasha School of Technology and its important students. And if I'm being honest here, the first season didn't impress me that much, until the final episode with the area rebuild scene. That's not to say that it was boring. Quite the contrary, by now I have learned to expect anything and everything with Gundam. The fight scenes were great, and the return of the fin funnel technology was definitely a blast. The mechanical design was very interesting, with mobile suits pertaining to different branches of the Venerate group clearly showing their design roots and ideology. Yet, what I found quite weird was the school setting. I mean, it made sense considering that the Astikasha School of Technology is a higher education facility run by the Venerate group, with the emphasis on the acquisition of piloting, mechanical, and management strategy skills, with the Venerate group being something like an Anaheim Electronics but on steroids. And sure, there was also a minority group that represented the Earth, which was a direct subversion of the original Spacenoid minority against the controlling Earthians. But then Chuchu was introduced, and let's just say that she's a fantastic character, and thank the new type gods that she was not killed, as I would have mourned her much more than if Solera was killed. Back to the story. All of the first season seemed to move a little bit more slowly than what I expected. It felt more like things were moving in the background, but we were too focused on the training and the student duels. But very slowly new concepts were introduced, like the other witches from Earth, Girl Amuro and Girl Camille, Sophie and Noria, and that the Ariel's nigh invincibility was not really all due to Solera's piloting skills. Also, that Delling was not really in full control of the Venerate group, and more things like that. It all felt like the real story was being obscured on purpose, and it kind of was. Everything got super clarified on the second season, and it is here where we can mostly see how the creators reconfigured previous Gundam tropes into something very interesting. And before I move on, I won't be talking about the symbolism, nor the literary references, nor the use of lighting and camera angles to deliver emotional punches. I'm really not qualified for that. My background is in electronics and computer engineering, so yeah, sorry, no philosophy here. Yet, what I also am is a Gundam fan. So what I will do is tell you how, with a little bit of mental gymnastics, certain elements of G-Witch's story are reinterpretations of the first Gundam shows. Let's start with the most obvious one, the Char clone. Prospera is, for all intents and purposes, the Char clone of this series, but it's a very interesting take on the Char clone trope. Examining her story, what happened to her in the Vanadis incident, aka the prologue, she was stripped away from her family and her mentor, with their advances in technology being deemed as a curse and as something to shut down and remain untouched. In Universal Century series, the Gundams are always feared but never shut down. So what is the closest thing akin to that? New types, more specifically, new type theories. And who was the first prominent proponent of new type theories? Oh, just a man that went by the name Xian Zum Daiko, the father of Char. As I see it, Elnora transforming to Prospera is the witch's version of what would happen if instead of Xion accidentally dying, he continued his new type theories until the Federation killed a child of his. But instead of going full crazy, he continued to plot his revenge and the overthrowing of the Federation. You see, just as Char with the Sabis, Prospera kept working for Delling and the Benedict group, all in order to keep moving forward with her revenge. But unlike Char, she had all the ferocity of a wounded mother and the experience of an adult businesswoman. Prospera never succumbed to emotion like Char. She was always calculating and cold, kind of like Full Frontal from Unicorn, all in order to do something as crazy as reviving her lost daughter Eri. She was willing to destroy the Earth's ecosystem with a data storm so that her child could be free again. Just like Mr. Casval was willing to destroy the Earth's ecosystem with the asteroid just so that humanity could be free in space. At first, I thought that the Witch's Char clone was going to be like a reinterpretation of the Sabi stories, with Dewin losing Garma. But the more that I saw Prospera's actions, the more I became convinced that it was like if Char had a child and the initial circumstances of her transformation had more to do with an inversion of Char and Xion's role rather than something remotely close to the Sabis. So instead of Char losing his family, here in G-Witch we have something more akin to Xion losing his family. The revenge plot is still there, the disdain for the controlling faction is still there, even the mask is still there. It's just that now we see it through the parents' perspective. This was the biggest revelation for me, and I know that I may be completely wrong, but I quite like it nonetheless. So yeah, Prospera deserved the hashtag Best Mom Ever. Oh, and the aerial Gundam being the final boss was absolutely bonkers and fantastic. Speaking of the aerial, another subversion that I found quite interesting was the fact that first Sulera is portrayed as an ace pilot just because she was able to speak with the mobile suit. Then we really find out that the Gundam itself is actually sentient. It just needs the pilot to interface with the world. So yeah, no ace pilot for us, just a really good sister. To my knowledge, this is not the first time that we see a sentient Gundam, yet it is the first time that it's used for the protagonist's mobile suit. The Earth Federation is also there, albeit in the form of the Space Assembly League, because here the Spatians are the controlling faction. And just as the Sleeps, or well, Xion in general, Earth, the minority, has its guerrilla faction with the Dawn of Fold, with their own sneaky little Gundam provider called Ox Earth Corporation, a provider that was also secretly working for the Space Assembly League to put an end to the Venerate group. Any similarity to Anaheim Electronics is entirely on purpose. In fact, as I said before, the whole Venerate group can be seen as a super Anaheim Electronics with many sub-corporations handling different type of mobile suits for different purposes. And just when we thought this could not get any more Gundam-y, we may not have Giran Savi nor the Titans, but we do have a colony laser. It really doesn't get any more Gundam than a humongous space laser. My friends, I was ecstatic when I saw the colony laser. It's so bizarre, so absurd, so ridiculous, but also very in line with Gundam that even my partner asked me why was I grinning so much. And I just answered, it's a Gundam. My friends, The Witch from Mercury was a great Gundam series. The characters had great moments. The mechanical design was amazing and super different. The colors were bright, the fin funnels looked spectacular, the aerial looked cute yet menacing, Chuchu was fantastic, Prospera was ruthless. The Witch from Mercury is over long live the witch. As for why I did not go so in depth with the story, well, I'm just not a fan of summarizing or explaining the plot, but if you want, I can maybe do something more freestyle, like a podcast talking about the whole story, or at least the most important bits or what I found most interesting. What I'll do say is that the whole Gund arm concept was a very interesting take regarding the Gundams, and that Data Storm was a brutal retool of the Minovsky particles. And while not as gory as the previous Gundam IBO, this story did touch upon dark themes like the enhanced humans and precisely the Gundam curse of the Data Storm that robs its pilots of their life. Any similarities to new types is merely coincidental. I really like this show. In fact, both the previous post-disaster timeline of IBO and Absa from From Mercury are two incredible settings that have a lot of potential for more spin-off stories. And before anyone asks, yes, I prefer the Barbatus Lupus over the Ariel. In fact, I prefer the Demon Gundams over the Witch Gundams. Anyway, what do you think of From Mercury? Did you enjoy the show? Who was your favorite character and mobile suit? Mine were the original Ariel, with the bizarre looking Fract a close second, and the tremendous Chuchu. Please leave your thoughts on the comment section, and as you may or may not know, my name is Absa, and we can continue the conversation over at Twitter, where you can follow me at Absalonicas, and on Instagram, where I post pictures of my figures, my cats, and sometimes even myself. I'll be trying to talk more about anime, maybe comics, and definitely mechanical design via model kits. So, till next time, always remember that in fiction lies power, so let's use it to forge a new type of story. Our hero's journey.